Hello, hello. One second, just bringing over chat and everything. There we are. All right. So it is time to redo our spell system. I basically was trying to get like hit markers and like sound effects, visual effects to work properly, but digging into it, I was like, god damn, a lot of the class structure that I have right now in terms of like inheritance is so outdated, and a lot of this stuff is using like a very old system. So I really want to clean this up and get rid of a lot of unnecessary shit, and create some documentation for it as well. But going into the future, it'll be a lot easier. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So right now, what I'm doing is pretty much just breaking down like what I need, what each class is going to actually do. I'm also going to list like the functionality of each class in this before we actually do it. So I'm going to be kind of like pre-building the classes, and then we're going to be coding them in, just so we have like a really nice base layer to go off of. I think the catalyst for this whole like idea is this one class here, this AoE like Frost Blast class. I was like, this is like so specific, and the functionality of this thing is like so bad and so hard coded that I was like, fuck it, we're going to clean everything up and get it organized. But yeah, just making a little sheet here for it. So from what I've seen so far, the only classes that we truly need, one of them being the wall spell, because this one has like an actual like really unique property to it that can't be replicated through the other classes. That's fine. Base spell is going to stay. We're going to remove a lot of stuff out of here, more than likely. Utility is going to stay, and I believe base projectile is going to stay. I'm actually going to be combining this base projectile AoE spell and this together into one. Just because honestly, like they both pretty much do the same exact thing. I think the only reason I separated them in the beginning is because one of the spells I had was using something called like an explosion effect, and that's where B explodes is, and we pretty much cut that, so not needed. But yeah. Got base utility, base projectile. And a base spell, which I might rename this to something else, because the earthbending class that we're going to be creating is going to actually use a lot of the functionality in here, because the earthbending class is going to be mainly using geometry components, which is kind of like, honestly, it's going to be like a challenge, because chaos destruction over a network can have a lot of performance issues. So we'll see how that works out. I may make like a very modified version of it, and not really worry about like the positioning of like debris or anything like that. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Get a little bigger. Not 14, 24. Right now what we're going to do is just create our function. We know the music is pretty loud. Hard to tell. Are you developing the whole game in Unreal Engine C++? Yes, sir. I'm building everything. So, kind of a lie. The only thing that I'm using blueprints for is to adjust like variables and shit like that, because nobody wants to go in and just modify a variable and recompile every time. So blueprints are really good for changing very small amounts and variables and compiling on the fly. Base projectile, base utility. So another thing is we can actually get rid of this AoE base spell stuff, more than likely, and bring this over as well. Because again, this does a lot of the same stuff. This does have like movement and everything, but the movement's based off of like the tick variable, or it's basically based off of like delta time, and that's how it's like moving this projectile. But we can just move that over to a projectile movement component instead, and it should work a lot better. I mean, in the process of this, we are going to break a lot of shit, but it's for the better. Oh man, so if you've been working in blueprints for 3 years, you'd be surprised how easy it is to convert blueprints over to C++. And if you ever sent me like a screenshot of like a blueprint, I would be able to show you how to convert it pretty easily. The biggest thing that you can actually look at is, you know how you have like all your blueprint nodes? All those nodes are actually within a library called the Gameplay Statics Library. Love the hat. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate that. This has basically every single node that's used in blueprints right here. And I use these a lot actually because they're super helpful. Let's go Flyers. No, let's go Penguins. Knew I was a Flyers fan at heart. Yeah, I don't know about that one, champ. Is there any more functions that we were going to bring over? Okay, so, I mean, below what we're going to do is I'm going to put each function that is going to be merged into this during the process of cleanup here. These AoE duration-based spells had a very, like, unique functionality to them, but it's very outdated because we are going to be using the gameplay effects to handle all this shit. So let's get organized. Projectile spell is just going to also take a base projectile AoE spell, merge it in there. I also do have a backup of everything, so if we get into this project and I break too much shit, we can always revert back. This is getting cut completely. This was a test function. This is getting cut completely as well. So it looks like we're going to be merging this into just the base projectile as well. What's the website I'm using? So this is actually Canva. All I'm doing is making like simple elements and stuff. And I'm just like dragging them over with like lines. And I'm just like planning it out like this. This is usually how I plan out like mass refactors. Just so like I can have a visual representation of like what the plan is going into it. The best part about Canva is a lot of the actual like editing for it is like the same same keybinds as Unreal Engine's editing for blueprints and everything. So it's actually pretty easy. God damn, that red is bright. Let's bring that down a notch, shall we? Oh, fuck it, let me play. Well, I've been looking for a good website to help my help map out my coding hierarchy. Thanks for the info. Yeah, no problem. It's a very useful tool for sure. What the fuck did I name that function? For class? AoE Frost Blast spell. Yeah, that's getting cut. Let me... Real quick, I'm just going to bring this over to my other monitor so I can look at this and type this on here. Station. Anything else? I think the other part of this is we have this list of like passives that is also going to get cut. This one right here, definitely gone. Oh, and would you look at that? It's actually a child class. Dude, this is why it's like so fucking unorganized. The child class of the other spell that's getting cut. Add that to the list. Yeah, these like all do the same thing, pretty much. But they all just had their own individual classes. Because I was like, oh, we're not going to make that many abilities for this game, and lo and behold, we ended up making a lot. So that was just poor planning ahead on my part. One is also actually kind of unique. One of the classes in the game plays off of something called burn stacks. The Pyromancer class basically applies a burn stack every time it does damage via like an auto attack or through some of its abilities. And what Wildfire is, essentially it grabs the stack of burn on the target and it will spread to other targets within a radius of that character. So this one actually can't get cut yet because it's like a super unique type of functionality that I can't really recreate. Within any of the other classes. So that one will stay for now. What is this one? This is a child class. This is for self-targeting abilities, it looks like. What is this actually doing? All it's doing is just grabbing the owner of the ability, applying the effect to themselves. So there's two ways we can handle this, right? This is an entire child class made, and all it's doing is just switching who the effect is being applied to. It's also spawning an actor. Okay, yeah, no, I see what this is doing. Yeah, I don't know if we actually, I don't know if we need this, because this function, I'm pretty sure is almost the same exact as this. I don't mind all the logging and shit. I was testing something out for networking purposes. Spawn actor deferred, blah blah blah. I think the only thing that's not happening in this one is It is actually doing the same exact thing. I think the location of where it's spawning is the only difference I can see. So we actually might be able to bring this over, and we can create a Boolean variable that we can modify via blueprints and say like, hey, this ability spawns on the caster itself. Is this your own personal project you've been working on? If so, how long have you been making it, and what kind of game is it going to be? Yeah. It is a MOBA, like arena game. First person, and I mean, it's essentially just going to be like a 1v1, 3v3, 5v5 style of game. But there's also going to be a PvE mode that involves like gear. So basically you just gear up in PvE, then you go to PvP. The unique aspect of the game is the flexibility that you're going to have when making your character. You're able to select 3 class trees. Each class tree grants you 9 different abilities. So in total, your character is going to have anywhere from 27 to 30 abilities. You're also able to set like stats on your character as well with like attributes. And your gear also provides attributes for your character as well. So I wanted to make a game where you had a lot of control over how your character is going to function. I played like competitive like WoW Arena for a very long time and got pretty high rated doing so. And one of the things I really loved about WoW was, especially in like Classic and Burning Crusade, is how unique you could make your build and like how you could min-max certain stats, and that was just a lot of fucking fun. So I wanted to make a first-person arena game that was just like that. So right now we have 2 maps. I have like a base like arena map, and then I have a new map that we just wrapped up or are nearly done. So one's an arena, the other one's kind of like a canyon that you spawn in. This map is a little bit more unique than the other one, mainly because this one has a like event that happens on it, which you'll see in a second here. Every like 30 to 40 seconds there's a basically like a giant like blizzard that comes through the center of the map, and it will kill anybody that's crossing any of the fallen bridges in the center here, because you can destroy the crystals on the bottom and these will collapse and create a bridge. So it just creates like different like aspects in the game that you have to be aware of. The inspiration for this was from Gears of War 2. They had a bunch of maps that were a lot of fun to play that had like random like elements on the map that could kill you. So not only were you like playing against like other people, you also had to be aware of like your surroundings as well. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, so far so good. This one's also like super unique, so I don't know if we can actually get rid of this. The self-target one I'm actually going to combine into spawn actor, actually. Make a note of that here. I am using Unreal 5.4. I recently just converted over to 5.4 because the animation workflow looked super enticing. Because as like an indie developer, animations are really fucking difficult to come by. And trying to like custom make them is yeah, it's just not my forte. So anything to help with that process, like, I'm sold. Target spawn ability. Yeah, the animation tools are really good, from what I've seen. There's a couple bugs, and it's really ironic. One of them is from like chaos physics, where on this map, right, we have these crystals here that you like destroy and the bridge falls over, blah blah blah. At the end of a round, these reset, go back into their place, you know, to prepare for like the upcoming round. But what was happening was, from like hours and hours of like digging into the code and debugging this, when you tried to respawn this, the actual broken pieces didn't clean up when you tried to refresh it. So what would happen is it would try to spawn in with the pieces still there, and it would just crash. So I had to go in, create my own custom geometry collection component, and create the functionality where it fully reset everything and didn't crash. And in the most recent release, I compared the code between like 5.4 and 5.3, and I was like, oh shit, they added a bunch of stuff, they changed things around. I guess they were like trying to fix this because, you know, it's been a problem. Turns out they didn't fix it, they made it worse. Because when this thing breaks, it sends out an event letting, you know, anything tied to it that, hey, I just got destroyed, do your, you know, all your functions or whatever. And I had something set up to where the functions would get called once, and then it would stop the event from ever triggering again. In the most recent release, when this gets triggered, it doesn't stop. It goes for like, it spams it like 37 times and then stops. And I tested it because I went back to 5.3 and it worked just fine. So after the hours I spent fixing this, they broke it again for me. So it's a new challenge for me to go in and try to fix it again. People say use Unity because it's easier, but we don't want easy. We like game engines that make it difficult for us, so we become better developers from it. We like challenges. This is one of the challenges. Okay. I think that is pretty much what we are doing here. Let's start off with this. Close everything else out. Turn the music down just a little bit so I can focus here. See what we need and see what we do not need. Oh yeah, I was messing with replication because I really want to figure out that hit marker thing. Life of a dev. Sometimes things break for some unknown reason and you have to spend hours fixing it only for something else to break. Oh yeah, it's a repetitive cycle, but you know, iron sharpens iron. The Unreal replication system and gameplay ability system are much more advanced than Unity, making multiplayer much easier. Very true. The gameplay ability system handles prediction, which is fucking awesome. And unfortunately, prediction and spawned actors don't mix very well, but you can get by with it. But yes, gas does make multiplayer a lot more easier. Makes it more easy to develop. That's for sure. Yeah, all this debug shit right here where I'm like printing out like what's client, what's server. I was like tracking something down of like where like certain events were getting triggered and when. So I meant that out. There's STD call once. I think the call function one time, but never tried it myself. Oh, I don't dare. I let the engine handle the base C++ code for me. I just use the engine macros. And if the engine macros fail me, it's something I can blame Epic on, and not myself. So I use the macros as a shield to help my insecurity as a developer. Unless I need to static cast something, then I'll just do that myself. Whoops. Honestly, like these things can actually get commented out for now. I was just testing some replication shit with spawned actors, and I was using timers for it because I wanted to see if this one variable that was getting deferred on spawn was actually replicating. And I was like, it shouldn't, but it really feels like it is. Turns out it wasn't. It was just something really stupid. Oh. Yeah. This is from a very old system. We had direct targeting in the game. So what this did was basically just like highlight actors that you were like hovering over when you were like casting spells on them. But this is getting changed. We're going to be using kind of like aim assisted projectiles where like when you're trying to like buff like an ally or like cast like a healing spell that's a projectile and it's like single target, the plan is to have like a homing feature on it to where like as long as you cast it within like the vicinity of like the target, it will actually adjust its curve so it helps kind of like guide the projectile into the actor. So it still allows you to like miss when you're shooting, but like, you know, we'll help you out if you're like really bad. I'm probably not going to touch that. Now the big thing is moving all of this up to the parent class, because this child class is totally fucking useless. I'm being honest. A lot of very repetitive shit is in here. we're gonna go up to this level. Where is my beacon overlap? Here you are. Yeah, you can see that activate hit is called here. Does all this shit. Activate hit is probably going to go bye-bye. Bring this guy up. This is a new friend to the project here, to the class. Control period, we're going to create the declaration in our header automatically here. And it looks like it's missing some property. So what we're going to do here is copy pretty much all the properties up to this level, and we'll sort out what's needed and what's not. This one is not needed at all. Impact delay is needed. Nothing jumps out at me yet. I think I cleaned this function up last time and got rid of a lot of useless shit on it. Here's another one. Damage all actors in sphere radius. Bring this guy up too. This one here. Visual Studio wants to play nice today and actually do this for me. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Now the cool thing about this is we have something else called a base projectile utility spell, which comes from the base projectile spell. We actually can just override how the activate works here, so this class actually will not be impacted by what we're doing right now, or should not be impacted by it. Which makes our lives a lot easier. Activate hit is only used by one ability in the whole game, which just makes it not great design. The fireball spell, the first one the actual first spell I made in the game, it's where this class originated from. This guy is old. I'm talking like day 20 of like the project or something. Now, if you're wondering like what we're doing here, where we have this like add radial impulse to player, the way you actually can like add like physics to characters and like move them around is grabbing the character's movement component and just applying something called a radial impulse, which is a built-in function on the character movement component. The Tempest class utilizes this a lot because it's all like wind-based and like storm-based abilities. The Pressurize ability actually does something that pulls characters in towards the center of the ability, and it does that by adding radial impulse, but it's actually not adding like a positive impulse, it's a negative impulse. So the impulse strength would be like minus 3000, which pulls it in. The way you can actually modify geometry components, which is like the breakables with like chaos physics, is by kind of doing like the same thing. The geometry collection component actually has similar functions as the movement component. So you actually have to break the item first, which is what we're doing here with the apply external strain. And then you add radial impulse to actually like move the objects or like launch them. Yeah, so I think activate hit is for now going to get completely commented out like this. And when I do like massive comments out like this, the way I can track if an ability is trying to utilize this function is by logging the actual call to the function itself. So when I make changes like this, I like to know like, hey, what ability is still trying to use this, and how can I change it? So whenever this gets called, I'll know like, okay, this ability is trying to do activate hit. Why is that? And then I can replace it with the new system that we're trying to do now. So just trying to keep tabs on everything. Also, I would punch my older self or younger self in the face for not having vegan play right below the doctor. Like a cardinal sin. A lot of this stuff is totally fine to keep. Destroyed is calling the super version of destroyed. Okay. Why though? Am I overriding this anywhere else? Because it definitely doesn't need to be overridden here. For not doing anything with it. Same with activate spell, not doing anything here with it, but we will be. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, so all of this is going to get moved right on up. What's up, brother? How are you doing today? The tick functionality probably is getting moved up too. I do not believe we have anything tick right now. I don't even think we're actually using tick. Also very important, do not forget to call the super version of tick. There's actually been times where I'm just like not thinking, I'm just in the zone, I forget to call the super version of begin play, and I'm like, wait, why the fuck is my actor not working? Actually need both of these functions. You won Rocket League solos. Congratulations. You've been working on like the logistics and everything over the weekend, I'm assuming. Is there anything else that we need from here? Begin play. Comment this out real quick. I want to see the difference between these two. What was this doing? Oh yeah, it was calling activate spell immediately. Yeah, again, this projectile spell, all it was used for was one ability in the game. So, it's about time that it got updated. Hey. Let's do a build and see what happens. Yeah, shit. We're gonna do the age-old trick of commenting out everything and blowing up our project. Control MO, close everything out, all the shit. Damn. This is for the greater good. It's gonna suck for the first couple hours that we do this, but we're gonna get this working. We're gonna type up some documentation on the base header file, explaining the step-by-step process of constructing spells. And then we explain in detail what each variable does. It's gonna be really clean. Hey, good luck on your match. God damn it, Windows. Just minimized everything. What does this need now? Other comp and sweep location. I believe we were using default variables for those. Yeah, we were, right here. Where is the lab? Yeah. Just had defaults in our header for this. Do you know how the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Doesn't sink. It is held to the desert sand so well. No idea. But usually, when shit is sticking to the sand, because of like roots and plants. At least that's how like sand dunes survive. Build succeeded. Alright, step 1 is done. Step 2, we reparent all the projectile stuff. And then step 3 is once we have everything reparented over to the new functions and we test everything out, we go in and get rid of the excess files in our solution. And then we'll have a nice clean slate to work off of. It has 100-foot metal poles going down, making friction and stuff. I like the wording. Keeping it in the ground stable. That's modern engineering. Kind of like how skyscrapers move multiple meters and all 4 directions, so they can sustain pressure from the wind. Alright, abilities. Here we go. So the ones that say projectile are the ones that we gotta reparent. So the actual variables that are on these, right? So see how like let me scroll down a bit. This impulse strength, impulse radius, like all this shit, and the expansion rate and everything. These are set at like a very specific like amount. When reparenting, Unreal is pretty good at identifying naming conventions and keeping the variables the same. However, that's when you're going from like, excuse me, parent to child. Going from child to parent is a lot different. So we'll see how it holds up here. Held up well, look at that. It was able to quickly identify. all the variables. And since we moved everything over in the same exact order too, it all should be just fine, which is actually going to make this process a lot faster. Projectile spell, reparent. Check the defaults. All looks pretty good. Fast setting. Go here. Projectile. It's all holding up. This one we don't touch because this uses a very different ability class. This one we do. That's how I plan to make my city. State, no city. Or, oh, state, not city. Then finally, I'll add huge supports at a couple mile distance. Oh wait, hold on, there's more above that. I'll use that on modules, like one module's a room, one is a bathroom, one is a kitchen, one is a restaurant, make a whole modular town. Huh, okay. I mean, shit, if you could make it work, there you go. Seems like you got the logistics down for it. Let's go here. Second. Take my AC and your desk down. We're good. Okay. Now again, we have copies of all of these. So if it came down to it, we could definitely just re-grab it all. Not too we have honestly, we have like backups on this project, and then we have backups in our 5.3 version as well. So I could like shift A the whole project and delete it and not break a sweat. I believe that is everything. This is a test ability that we created that does not have a cooldown, so we're able to test new dynamic variables that we are adding to spells, like expansion movement, reverse effects, increased frequency of damage, stuff like that. So I use this one to tinker with all of the different variables to see what their effects are going to be before I move the effect over to a real spell in the game. So man, you moving with your family here? I'll make you a big house if you do, maybe a mansion if you invest in 2030. You doing it? Also, your children will own the house, and basically y'all getting a 5-star house. You invest $10K or 1K, but help me 1 month a year for a decade. Investment time starts in 2030. We'll see where I'm at in 2030. 10K is a lot of money. If you sent me that in an email, I would think that that you're a scammer. But since you sent it in YouTube chat, it sounds pretty trustworthy. Alright, let's test this out. Not saying you're a scam. I was just making a joke. Weirdly enough, the fireball works really well, actually. Huh. I actually was expecting this one to break. Wait a minute. AoE base spell. It's getting called. Why is that? Ah. That is why. I have this shit infesting my logs. Or... Oop. Another project is making a custom logging system, which I will be doing because the project's getting to the point where it's definitely needed. So I'll make ones for spells, and then I'll make ones for map events and other basically anything that needs to be logged on a timing basis. But anyway, I'm telling you, I ain't giving you a mansion that would be a 100k investment or 10k, but you work all year for 5 years, but you get food, water, and shelter. You sound like somebody trying to sell a timeshare, like one of those things where like a condo at a beach, where like they basically bought the condo for like $500,000 and they're like, dude, we're just gonna sell this to other people. We're not actually gonna sell it. We're gonna sell like 2 weeks out of a year that they get to use it. But they're gonna pay like 30% of the value of the home for just 2 weeks. And then they have to work with everybody else that owns the home. Hello, Bean. See what we got. The reason this is getting called twice is we have a client. Begin play gets called on all actors, or an actor that is spawned in and replicated, which this is. Okay. All is well. Now, I mean, this is the reason that we were trying to move everything over. Because you can see that the functionality works. Oh, did I just like copy and paste that log? Like I did. Good. For the most part. I will say, I'm running on probably about 4 or 5 hours of sleep at the moment. So, there may be some brain lag. A little bit. We're good. I'm talking about my own country. If Paul ain't investing, he ain't getting a house in the land. Fair enough. I just gotta tell you, you're talking to the wrong guy. I don't have a lot of money, but I have a lot of generosity. And patience, I guess. I want to teach people. I really enjoy teaching people new skills. And when I was learning this, there weren't a lot of people doing this that I could find. So I am just like recording all this as a resource to people, even if it doesn't make sense the most. Somebody will find it useful, I hope. Like, you will get a house. I'll give you food and water. We're up to your grandkids, but the house will be your property. Moving is a lot of effort, my friend. So, there may be all the effects happening for this, right? But the crucial thing is, when this fireball explodes, the actual, like, radius of damage is actually probably not happening. And what I mean by that is, in our old activate hit, I can show you the code. Let me just close all this up and bring it up here. The way we were doing damage is we were doing something called a sphere trace. So what this was doing was it was creating like a radius of stuff around the mesh of the fireball, and when it would do this, it would grab all the actors and then apply damage to those things in the radius. Currently we're not doing that. So my solution to this, to get around this problem, is instead of using a static mesh or the actual fireball itself, I was going to create a Niagara effect, and I was going to essentially hide the static mesh of this actor and increase its like size, but use it as like a collision volume almost. And when the actor, when the actor actually like hits the ground and does the explosion, everything within the radius of the static mesh itself will take damage. That's what I'm going to try. If it doesn't work that way, then so be it. We'll find something. But the house will be your property. I'll pay for moving, but if you promise to stay and live here, not just visit. That's a big ask, my friend. I have so many friends and family that live right near me. So moving that far away, it's not just like a financial thing. Like money, like saving money is cool and all, but money can't buy family. Unless there's like a website that like you can pay for actors to act as your family, but that's not what I'm referring to in this instance. Oh, buddy, my family is a lot bigger than that. I am like, just like my cousins alone, like my mom and dad, their families, they were like one of like 10 kids on my mom's side, and my dad's side he was like one of like 13, and then they all had kids, like a lot of them. So like just in like my like blood family, like closely like related, there's like 200 of us or more. Do I live with them all? No, but I see them multiple times a year. A lot of them I see monthly, not weekly. So Fireball, realistically, is the only thing that would have a problem with this new system. There's ways around it. Am I going to worry about that right now? No. We're going to start moving over the other spells now. We got the child class stuff done, which is the easy part. The hard part is now going to be moving over this Frost Blast spell, which is hard-coded. I want to puke looking at this. And this class here, this AoE base spell. This uses a lot of the same functionality. But it does have one effect that is different than the others. Is this reverse effect. I can actually show you what this does. This is what we're going to try and have to mimic with a projectile movement component. So this ability right here, Surge, what it does is launches, expands, hits a point, still expands, and then comes back to the actual player. This is a healing ability for allies and damaging effect for enemies. I can make them small apartments nearby and get you the big house. I don't think that would sit well with all the people. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, we would have to dynamically change a projectile movement component to grab its current movement or current velocity and reverse it. I think last time I tried to do like a dynamic effect on a projectile movement component, it didn't work. But that's when I was a more inexperienced programmer. So we'll find out. Size before growth. What is this now? Displays target AoE or spell will activate after a delay What? That's what I'm talking about. What the fuck was I doing? What is this shit? Oh. Okay. I think I know what this is. Yeah, part of a really old system as well. Not really needed anymore. Be honest, Mike, it's fine if you ain't gonna live here. I just want the investment. Is it fine if you just invest and be able to stay here whenever you want? Like, man, 10k investment can get you a big house, and man, you can still go on a plane and visit your family in America. I don't know if I can afford that right now. I don't know if you've seen the price of gasoline and bread, but that shit just like doubled in the past like 2 years. My desk just made a popping sound. Not sound great. Yeah, I mean, like, all of this looks pretty much the same as the other spell. which is why this is all going to get moved over. Like literally, it's almost word for word like the same type of functionality. The only thing it doesn't have is a projectile movement component, which at this point does not matter because we could just make it not have gravity but move in a straight line. Why do you want me to move out there so badly? I'm just a random game developer. Nobody too important. For testing purposes, we're going to take this surge spell that we were using. Wrong one, god damn it. Go in here. We're going to take this surge spell, duplicate it, right? Call it projectile. Go into class settings. Reparent this over to our projectile spell. And we're not going to touch the particle effects and all that shit right now. But we want to make sure that the expansion effects and everything remain the same. So let's open up the original one and look and see. We don't care about move, we just care about expand, limit, rate, and axis scale. So what is that? 5, 4, 0, 1, 0, 5, 4, 0, 1, 0. Okay, looks good there. Now to mimic the same type of movement where it was pretty much going in a straight line, we are just going to modify the projectile movement component. Speed, we'll put at 4,500. Gravity scale, 0. Yeah. Now, to actually swap this ability in, it's actually not too difficult. All we have to do is where it shows this spawned ability class, we just put in our new projectile spell. This is where it gets like a little bit more confusing, but this is a projectile, so the cast type we would put as projectile, and for casting style, yeah, it remains that. This gets into a deeper layer of refactoring that I'm probably not doing today. I mean, it's a gift, so you can stay for the investment. Also, it's not that game development is important. It's because how much you invest, you could make it a realty, make it a reality. Any investment helps, and you deserve a reward for that. Yeah, I just don't have money to actually invest into something. I'm being honest with you. 10K is a decent chunk of change. So okay, this is where we are going to run into problems. It's something like this. Go to our viewport and see what this looks like. Oh, I think I know what's happening. It might be visibility that's actually getting turned off here. Let's set our trail system and see if the trail system is working. Trailing. I think the one thing that I regret is not copying over all of my colors. Now I gotta go in and pick those out again and set them. That doesn't have it. One of these abilities must have it, right? That's not good. Where else would I have used that color? Leave on character. That is the old one. There it is. Yeah, I had colors picked out for each class, and it didn't save over. Let's see here, and man, imagine housing prices. Now, imagine a $600,000 house. I'll make it for you to invest in my country by 2030. $60 times return of investment, decades. Yeah, investing, fortunately, is not that easy. Okay, so the projectile is moving. And it's still going. But the mesh is not visible. So there's a couple things we can do to get around that part. Here's where we're actually setting it. Be hidden in game. We could just make a simple boolean to just like not have this happen. Or another way to do this is have the spell activate immediately. But here's the problem with that. When the spell is activated, our projectile movement gets basically cut off, and we don't want that to happen. You do know a country is the investment. You'll get a good house and food. You doing it? I'll talk to my accountant. We'll see. Yeah, this part right here. What makes this a little bit difficult. could refactor this, right? And just break these down into smaller functions into this. Make this a bit easier. A lot of money, my friend. I don't even think you're old enough to have a bank account yet, are you? So the thing is, this isn't just like hiding the mesh. This is also doing the offsetting and everything well. Cancel that real quick. We'll work with the collision first. What is this now? Owner. See, this is what I'm talking about. Some of these functions are just like not the best way of doing this at all. Main reason I'm saying that is because owner is different on every machine in a network game. Where's cast location used? It's not even used, is it? Yeah, like this isn't even used. This is. This should be inside here. This is also for impact, which we already have a spell system for this. I think the thought process here was there's impact particles, and then like say if this is like an AoE effect that lasts like 10 seconds, we would want a Niagara effect that also lasts 10 seconds. But I've learned a lot about Niagara systems over the past like year in doing this project, and you could easily have a sequence where impact particles happen, and then you just have other emitters within the system that happen right afterwards. So having two separate things work like this is just bad practice in the long run. The less things that you spawn into your game, the better it's going to run. Am I doing it? Probably not, my friend. Some things I say may be too blunt, but I'll always be honest with you. What this essentially doing, or what this is actually doing, is just grabbing all the actors within the radius of the spell itself and applying damage to them when the spell initially happens. Begin overlap events will not trigger if the outside of the mesh itself is not touching the actor upon activation. So if you spawn like a giant bubble or something, right, and you have actors inside of it, none of the actors will actually trigger that on begin overlap event. Also, another thing to note is with overlap events, if the mesh doesn't move when it's, first activated for collision, it won't trigger them either. So a little trick that you can do to have overlap events immediately happen as soon as you turn collision on is you could just add like a very small amount to their relative location, and that little movement will cause collision events to occur on spawn. Please, man, for the sake of terraforming. I can't, buddy. That is a commitment of investment that I probably cannot handle. We'll refactor this into another function here. See here. Probably want to call this like apply initial overlap event to initial overlap event to actors. Yeah, that's probably fine. We also want to move we want to move this into that function as well. Falls into that category. Okay. I kind of want to get rid of this. Like, this is kind of like a, really not a great way of doing it. I'm like manually adjusting the rotation of the Niagara system instead of just going into the system and adjusting the rotation that way. It's bad practice. We also don't want this here. Now, activate spell is also not calling like impact. That's actually outside of it. This all happens beforehand, which is probably okay. You do know you have 6 years to save it all up, and you're getting a big house in a sunny area. If you continue talking about overlap events, I'll overlap. Are you trying to spell throat? My guy, that is not okay. You can't be typing that stuff. That is a horrible thing to say to somebody. I'll give you a warning on that one. Yeah, but like, joking about like killing somebody isn't a good thing. Stop the overlap events. What we're working on today, my friend. I don't think there was any other variables that I removed from this. These actually need to happen regardless of if it's visible or not, because we're relying on these for collision. So no matter what, these have to happen. Also, I don't know why this log is in the middle. It should be at the very top. Time to overlap sadness with sadness. Oh man, work on your game. Do something positive, you know? Be productive. Oh, would you look at that? I'm actually doing a sphere trace here. So past me already thought about future pacing for that kind of event. Will you invest sometime? I'm never gonna say never to most things, so maybe at some point, but as of right now, probably. So we could easily make a boolean here where we basically say, do we move past collision or not? The default for this is definitely going to be true because there's only a very small handful of abilities that would need this kind of functionality. Now, with that being said, we actually want to make something in begin play that allows us to activate our ability early for these kind of projectiles that we're making, because they rely on collision of the spell mesh. Default for this will be false. And let's actually add some comments into this. Oh, will you visit sometime? Sorry. Will I visit? Maybe. See what happens. What is this? Used for spells that move and... Used for spells that move and trigger overlap events. Probably a better way to describe that event, but gets the job done for now. Up on collision, I mean, self-explanatory, but for future me, like, why the hell did I make this? Some things I like to do with comments, because these type of comments will show up inside your blueprints when you hover over certain things. So like if I hovered over like this, for instance, and this had a comment above it, it actually will display this, this text here, which is really useful. Hide spell on mesh. I mean, need damage and spell vision hit. So this is for overlap events, I believe. Got something to do, see ya. Have a good day. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so all this is doing is allowing the spell mesh to generate overlap events. A second. Ah, okay. I see what I did here. So, what this is doing is if activate spell was not called, it will basically call this functionality here when it hits a target. So, for instance, if we had like a fireball spell, it hits the ground, it deactivates the trail of the fireball, all that shit. It actually activates the spell, which is the damage part of it. But if like that fireball had something where the spell mesh like remains on the ground with like a burning effect and somebody steps in it and triggers an overlap event, this else here basically is telling us, hey, if this has already been activated by like hitting an object or the ground and another actor steps into the radius of the spell mesh, it's going to apply damage to him. Is how I set this up originally, it looks like. Is that a great way to do that? If it ain't broke, don't touch it. And that's what I'm going to avoid doing. Because so far damage has been super reliable. And I'm looking to break things today, but definitely not that. The difference between these two things right here is damage in radius and damage in spell mesh collision hit. Damage in radius would be like the initial explosion of the fireball. This right here, if this is true, would be if that burning effect was on the ground. So this would be like the after effect of like the explosion. That's why these are separate, and that's why it's not like an else statement or something. I'm basically just allowing, like, when I'm creating spells, I can have this spell have a number of different effects. And not be, like, super constrained to just one thing. Now this apply initial overlap event to actors should actually be in here, I believe. Because if we're just doing damage with something in the initial like radius or like explosion, then we just want this to be called. If we're not checking for actors within like the spell mesh itself after that initial like damage is done, then there's no point to actually like look for all the actors and apply damage to them like that. Looks good, looks good. Okay. Allow spell mesh to apply, or allow spell mesh to use begin overlap to call apply overlap events. A lot of twos. Not allowed. Let's do enables begin overlap on spell mesh. Enables begin overlap on spell mesh, which calls apply overlap events or events. Tables begin overlap on calls apply overlap event to actors. In spell mesh. Tables begin overlap on spell mesh, which calls apply overlap event to actors within spell mesh after activate spell is called. I mean, that's very literal to what it does, so keep it that way. Damage and radius. I want to double check my spelling on everything. Now, what does this use as a measurement for its radius? Uses a variable called AoE impact radius. Calls damage all actors in sphere radius, all actors within float AoE. Calls damage all actors in sphere radius, which calls apply overlap event to all actors within and for AoE impact radius. I believe this is only used for this function particular. That is the truth. So let's make note of that. Okay. A lot better. These guys are scrapped, I believe. We got rid of this initially. Oh. Already made. So if this is the case, We actually don't even need to spawn a trail system. Probably end up using a Niagara effect at some point that will replace the trail system, and if I do, I'll come back in here and change this out again. But as of right now, for demoing purposes, we're not going to have a trail system with this kind of ability. Actually, that's not true. Keep it that way. Not used anymore. This though, what are we using this for? Blank here. I think in Fireball though it is not. Blank in Fireball too. What uses this? I'm trying to think of one ability that actually uses it. I think Thunders. Yes, the only ability in the game. We're going to do that. So, Sayonara. Okay. Set lifespan. When are you called? On expansion completed. Also called an activate spell. I have to choose my wording correctly. I'm gonna say alive. Yeah, I mean, that kind of sums it up. So that's how long spell measure live after activate spell or and I'm too tired to see if grammar on that is correct, but good point. Rail system. We already have one in. That's fine. Okay, I mean, this is pretty cleaned up for the most part. I mean, one thing that should get checked. Also, wait, hold on, what the fuck is this? If we're not applying base effect allies and the other actor is the owner, then we just return. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. Why are we not checking other actor beforehand? We should be checking for the 3. Care about other comp though? I don't think we're ever using other comp. Apply overlap event. But like, is this even? Ah, for geometry collection component. True. So this is null. It actually linked in about the earth. Is on hit even called? No. Okay. set them as virtual just in case. I don't plan on making a child class, but like when I first started making this game, however many months ago, I didn't expect to classes or child classes and ended up doing so. I think we are good. We cleaned up a lot of pretty unnecessary shit. Made some comments too to explain pretty much all booleans. Now we're going to convert the rest of our spells over, and if it all works, we are going to start deleting some of the unnecessary stuff, cleaning up the project a bit. This is a long time coming. Okay. Let's go to that one ability that we just changed over in the Druid tree. Here. We created a new boolean specifically for these kind of abilities that use the spell mesh right off the rip to check for collision. So I give these a category. It's spell on begin play, stop on. The spell lifespan is 4 seconds, but I'm going to double check this. I believe we have it to where if a spell is expanding, the lifespan won't be set. Until after. Yeah, we have initial lifespan set to 0 here too. The rotation's just a little bit off. Is also not expanding. Let's see, why is that? Expand. Hold on. Error check for this. very possible that our tick function is actually not currently on. Actually, there's no way, right? See what's happening. So we know currently that our tick function might not meet the criteria. Is tick actually on? If not, we'll see what's going on. Is not. Okay. So that means an activate spell we are setting this to be true. But what we're probably not doing is allowing our actor to actually tick. So we're going to grab our primary actor tick to turn whenever tick to true. And in doing so, we should have a life. Like that. Cool. Alright. Get rid of the logging inside the tick. I think the only other thing that is a problem is the rotation of the actor. Since this is like a pretty unique shape, the direction that this is facing should match that of the character that's spawning it. So we might want to make a boolean for that as well. So for this like flatten out and location offset and everything like that. Just have some more control over the spells we create. We have this function here for location offset, and that is pretty much just something to allow the spell mesh not to be stuck in the ground on activation, but we don't really do that. Spell mesh. I'm gonna make some comments for these two. Honestly, take the ones from the CPP file, put them here as well. We're able to view them within blueprints. This is getting to the point where it's like 1,000 fucking if statements. But it's only getting called once, and if statements like this are pretty efficient. It comes down to the fact of like, do I want to make 1,000 different classes for separate functionality, or do I want to make one base class that can do a little bit of everything and you have control over what it does? So with inheritance and making child classes, you can create like modular or modularized versions of this, or you could just have a lot of the stuff be in one place, make it easy. So I'm choosing this path just for spells specifically, because they're all going to pretty much fall into the same category. Some will be a little bit different. Yeah, I think this all looks pretty good. Defaults are true, all that good stuff. Since we added U properties, usually live coding after you add in properties like that, pretty dangerous. It's a good idea to close down and actually do a full compile to avoid a lot of problems doing it this way. Also, if anybody has any questions in like projects you're currently working on, anything like that, feel free to ask. I do like providing help. Okay, go in here now. Look up. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Categorize. I want to call this spell properties, but there's probably a better way to categorize it. I mean, I could call it spell functionality. I think that covers like a wide range of things that this spell can do. Gotta recompile one more time. I've actually destroyed blueprints before by making U property changes and then live coding. And I do not want to run that risk again. Here we go. They do not want to zero out rotation, and we do not want rotation offset. Okay. Now, the rotation of this spawned actor should follow that of the character now when we spawn it. Just like that. Nice. And then it dies after 4 seconds of the expansion completed. You will see though that the... like I have prediction for projectiles, which is what this line trace is doing right here. Or not line trace, what this actual like projection effect is doing. What it's not accounting for is zero gravity, which is why it's like arcing like this. So this will have to be changed to account for this, which we'll probably do at a later date. I say that, we'll probably do it tomorrow. Because you can see that obviously it's not following that trail whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, we now have it converted over to where our base spells are working with the new system. We just cut out, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different class files. And we'll be deleting pretty much all of these after I do the remainder of the conversions and everything. But yeah, I might call it here for now. Probably gonna get some lunch, and I'll do all the boring stuff off stream. Like, the rest of the conversions are pretty much going to follow the same exact path that we just did with the surge spell. The one thing I really wanted to just show everyone is refactoring, and like my thought process going into refactoring, and how I think about like the future of class usage, and how I combined everything together. We basically made a system now to where I can make basically any spell I want and not have to really do any coding for it. And I can have it created within like 5 minutes. I can have it expand, move, I can have it just be a duration effect, I could have it be an instant effect. I can modify any of those values at all, and I now just created something where I can make 1,000 different spells that do 1,000 different things just by changing some variables around. But yeah. With that being said, I might stream later on today. It really depends. If I do, what I'm going to be doing is working on the hit scan stuff and some visual effects, and probably making some sound effects from scratch as well, but we'll see. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna head off for now. I'll schedule a stream for tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern as per usual, and tomorrow we definitely will be working on the hit scan effects, and working on some more combat stuff, getting all this fleshed out for playtest. So, that being said, wherever you are, I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, or night, and till tomorrow. Peace.